This is the Grow Business Podcast with Cory Mosley.
What did you call that? Underwear? What did you call it? A chest wedgie. I don't know what that is, but I like your on-the-spot approach to making stuff up. That sounds good. You know?
I'm good at that.
I don't know. Well, glad to be here. Glad to be here. That's right. You are in the right place where we discuss provocative things like chest wedgies.
Like how to grow your business.
Yeah.
How
to grow your business. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. But this is the Grow Business Podcast with Cory Mosley. I'm Cory Mosley. Was that a bell for me? I don't want a bell. Where is my stuff at? I want to hear. Oh, that was for the Grow Business a bell. Okay. Well, let me try this again. Well, that was the Grow Business Podcast. Oh, cha-ching. Oh, I see where you're going. Oh, You're sneaky.
There
well,
we
I'm
go.
Cory Mosley. Yeah. There we go. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you see this strapping gentleman next to me in a lovely sport coat, which I wish was in my size. I'm talking about LG 007. Lon Graham is here.
Voice of Reason.
It's good to be here, Cory.
Yes,
Good to see you again.
good to see you back. And of course, the man making it up as he goes along on those buttons is Willie H. He's here with us as well. Hit the buttons, William. That's right. I like that. Are you still getting called Willie H out in the field? I like it. That's good. It's sticking.
Yay.
Yes. Yeah. That's good. You know, when we do our own sound effects, it really does sound like was that him pushing the button or was that you doing it?
Yay.
You all will never know. But listen, if you're streaming us, however you're streaming us, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Amazon, iHeart, watching us on YouTube, we're thrilled to have you here for another episode this week. We've got a good one for you. I mean, we think all of them are good ones because we're really committed and dedicated to doing one thing, and that's helping you grow your business. So we want to do it practically. We want to give you some good information, actionable insights. Not here to be your gurus, as we say every week, but we want to share some things that have been working, are working, some things that didn't work, so you don't have to find out for yourself that they didn't work. Boy, I wish. I wish I had more of that. I certainly, from reading books and consuming information, I think have had some shortcuts. But man, there's a few things I wish I wish there was a podcast 20 years ago I could have listened to that could have saved me a lot of heartache and dollars and cents and a lot of stuff. So, but we're happy you're here. We're happy to be here, sharing and pouring. We've got an interesting show. This was fueled by LG 007. He wanted to talk about customer experience today.
Yes.
CX, as they call it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to share some tips, as always, with you. I also have a great resource that I bought that I made some stickies on. If you're looking on YouTube, you see me with the stickies here.
Right.
I've got a great book from a longtime friend of mine and an expert. He's been on one of our shows, and he's just there's people that you just get and kind of get you, or and also give great perspective on things in a really direct way, not to be snarky,
right,
but a little snarky. Because many things are, I think so many things are simple that we make complicated.
Yeah.
So I wrote some notes. Steve Stauning and his sons, I don't leave him out, Steve and Connor Stauning, both co-authored this book, Ridiculously Simple Customer Experience. Yeah. Shout out to Steve Stauning. Steve always is, I know he's a listener to the podcast. Yeah. So we want to shout him out. I want to recognize that. And, for the cameras, for people watching this is a great book. You should go out and get it. It's on Amazon right now. How to quickly build and maintain a CX customer experience juggernaut. So ridiculously simple. So I've got a couple of notes. I want to share some things from him and give credit to him as a thought leader and his son for writing this book. And then we've got some of our own stuff. So we're kind of going to mishmash it. So Lon, tell us, what was the driver when you hit me and said, hey, you know what? I think it'd be great this week if we talk about customer experience. What was the driver behind that?
Well, so it goes back to, I mean, your background is in the auto industry. And it goes back to, I have a fleet vehicle that I needed to take in to get service because the mileage was at the right point to do that. And I called, and the person I scheduled it with was very nice. She said, I can either get you in about a week and a half, or if you're willing to come in 2 hours, I can get you in 2 hours. So she was like, I said, yep, I can do it. Let me make that happen for all the reasons that I need to make it happen. So it was fantastic. That experience, though, was great. Once I got into the dealership, they were busy. I get it. They were really busy. But it took them about 15 minutes for somebody to come talk to me. The manager ended up coming, the service manager ended up coming to get me. And once I started working with her, she was great. It was a great experience. The issue was, though, while I was waiting, there were 5 people that walked past me, and all 5 of them put their head down and walked by me so they didn't have to look at me and acknowledge that I was standing there.
That's just dumb.
So what inspired this is, look, we know that there's challenges. We know that there's things. We know that people are busy. We know that not everything's going to go perfectly. But what customers want in an experience is they want to be recognized, and they want to be, and because by recognizing them, you validate them.
Right.
And when you validate them, you give them what they're looking for, which is the recognition, and they just want to be valued.
Right.
And so what inspired this was, and I sent it to you actually from the waiting room.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was, well, I mean, I love, that's the, right. It's like, we need to talk about this on the show.
Well, this is
like, that's good to have a platform. Now you have a platform to do that, right? You know, I need to talk about this.
100%, because
you're just kind because you're not saying who it is.
Well, right. And I'm not, and the point isn't to blow them up.
Right.
The point is to recognize for our listeners.
You could have called me.
What could
I know all the car dealers.
Well, I know you do.
Okay.
But I mean, the 10 or 15 minutes that I was waiting, the whole point of it is that people intentionally put their head down when they walk by me. Like I wasn't there.
And you would kind of put it on a roller coaster ride. And what I mean by that is it was, oh, you know what? We got something in 2 hours. Oh, fantastic. My problem's solved.
Right.
And then you get there and then it's hurry up and wait. Like, because you jammed me in, the reason why I'm waiting potentially is because you jammed me in. And okay, I can live with that, but now all your people are ignoring me.
Right, exactly. And to contrast
customer service is first here. Now, but here's the thing. If you ask the owner, the owner would tell you taking care of our customer is job one.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Well, and the polarizing piece to that is this, because my experience in my personal vehicle is very, very different. I call them, I schedule it, I show up. I walk in.
Well, that's because you're driving German.
Well,
LG.
right. One's German and one's Japanese, right? So we'll go that far. But
the voice of reason drives German.
But it's a nicer vehicle, right? One's a fleet vehicle.
That's the service bill when he hit that. That's the service bill at the German place.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it's just. But the point of it was such a different experience, because I'll even wait at the German place.
Right.
But they make a point to say hello. Welcome.
Yeah, sure.
I know that, bear with us. We're backed up a little bit. We'll get you in. We'll take care of you. Just the acknowledgement and the recognition that I was standing there.
Right.
And they won't walk by and ignore me. They'll say, hey, can I get you a cup of coffee or whatever while you're waiting? But the point of it is one's recognizing, one's a different level of expectation and customer experience. And the other one is, well, we want to try and take care of you, but by taking care of you, like you said, we're actually putting you in an undesirable situation.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, so let's do the part of the show where we tell people things that they should know already. Right.
Exactly.
I want to get that part out of the way, right? So we agree that a positive customer experience fosters loyalty.
Correct.
Enhances brand reputation, and can, and in most instances, in some way, shape, or form, impact the bottom line.
100%.
Right? We agree on all of that.
Correct.
That owner knows all of that.
Correct.
Probably doesn't know that he's got people walking around his dealership that intentionally are not trying to say hello to customers.
Right.
But probably needs to be aware of that, because somebody needs to be responsible for that engagement.
Correct.
If they're going to be walking, listen, if they have secret walls that they walk in between, then fine. You're not talking to customers. But if you're walking through a customer and you're identified as a member of that business, it might be nice. I understand that's not your job.
Right.
You're not a greeter. But it sets the tone for everything, right? For sure.
Right.
So, we want to talk, and Steve talks about this. I highlighted a few things.
Perfect.
Here that I wanted to touch on, because he does talk about some of this stuff, and some of his key things, right? Make it easy, manage expectations,
right?
Keep people informed. See, I think that was the key too for you. Waiting wasn't the issue, but if you could have been greeted quickly,
right,
and then set the expectation.
Right. Hey, give me 10 minutes and we'll get you squared away.
Exactly. It's the leaving it open that I think frustrates people. Not knowing frustrates people.
Well, exactly. And then because they haven't created a frustrating experience, they've allowed a frustrating experience to happen. Mm-hmm. What happens then is when the people walk by me, they're not sure if they should say anything. So now they go out of their way. Yeah. And then it becomes obvious that they're trying not to.
I'll tell you what I find interesting when it comes to reviews. So one of the things that we'll talk about, one in no particular order, but on kind of our touch point list is monitoring social media and online reviews, right? What's amazing to me is the lack of, like, as a business owner, you have to have a 360 set of skills. You don't have to be an expert in sales. You don't have to be an expert in marketing. You don't have to, but you have to have more than enough to be dangerous. Not because people love that one. Oh, I know just enough to be dangerous. Right. You need to have more than enough to be dangerous. If you haven't we are in a course world. You could get a course, we can debate the people out there that don't think people should pay for any courses. They should get it all free from YouTube. You can get training on customer service or customer experience, LinkedIn Skills Lab, YouTube. You can buy professional courses on that topic, but you need to do something because nothing drives me more crazy or drives me crazier. I don't know what the proper form of English is, than to go look at a business's reviews, see some negative reviews, and see the attitude at which the owner of the business replies. Oh, this is not true. I'd love to know who you are. You need to contact us directly. We don't believe that happened. And they're showing how combative they are online over a situation that was probably combative to begin with. Right. So all they're doing, so when someone writes, oh, I thought the staff was nasty, and the nasty owner replies nastily. Go ahead. That's just dumb. Yeah. Right. I don't, but you need some training. Right. That's the problem. Business owner does not just mean you get to go crazy, because then you're out of business. And then you know who you blame? Everybody else. The market, bad timing, I didn't raise enough capital. These customers out here aren't spending money. Right. I just read an article about, are you familiar with Hastings beds?
I've heard of them.
Yeah. So they started your entry level beds like 8,000. Okay. And then it goes up to 800,000. Okay. So they have 5x revenues in the last 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when you tell me people aren't buying, people are buying. Right. So, but it's all these other things. And if I go back and listen, I can't spend a lot of time doing this because there's no money in it. Right. But if I go back and do an autopsy on the business that died, right, you're going to see clues. Right. Right. Reviews, service. If we're talking restaurants, food quality, you may start to see that, peter off. We had a local business that just got sold again for the third time in like 2 years, a pizzeria. Okay. If you can't make it with a pizzeria next to a movie theater, I don't know what to tell you. Right. Like, that's foot traffic galore. Right. Pizza, quick, easy, convenient, high margin. Right. I don't understand.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Something has gone wrong there. And I'm not knocking, restaurants are tough, but there's some things are layups.
Right.
A pizza restaurant in the middle of nowhere is tough.
Correct.
A pizza restaurant in the shopping center with a huge movie theater,
right?
Regal, big movie theater,
right? With a CBD joint across the parking lot.
Right. I gotta ask myself. Yes. I gotta ask myself, what are we doing wrong here?
Right.
What lessons did we not want to learn? Did we just not want to learn how to make better pizza, or how we run it, or whatever? Somewhere along those lines, if I go on here, if I look them up really quickly, I'm probably going to see some things that maybe are leading me down that path. So we want to monitor you. So when we say monitor your reviews, pay attention to your reviews, but also respond to your reviews, but get some training on how to engage and not focus on being right. The saying is, I think it's anonymous. Steve quotes it. Steve has it in the book, but I think it's an anonymous quote that the customer isn't always right, but they are always the customer.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And there's a consideration. Yeah, it's anonymous here.
Okay.
But they are. It's true.
Right.
So you have to have, it's a ripple effect now. It's not one person, this stuff that goes viral.
Right.
Goes viral for a reason, because it's so quick to catch wildfire. You don't have that luxury. Oh, one person has a bad experience, they say 10. We said that 20 years ago. You've heard that in sales and training. They tell 10 people. Right. Now, you have a bad experience in Skokie, Illinois. It's on KTLA. Right. News.
Shout out to Skokie, Illinois.
Shout out to Skokie, Illinois. Gone viral is XYZ, blah, 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 blah. And then it's all over.
Right.
There's a restaurant. I was just reading about this woman that went on and claimed she was forcibly removed by security from this restaurant kind of lounge, and she was forcibly removed, and she was thrown down. So Willie H., did you see that? He's shaking his head. She was thrown down the stairs when she was trying, and they escorted her out. The vitriol for this restaurant, the people going online, calling, threats of violence, all these things. And then they had the receipts. And by receipts, I mean they had the camera footage that showed the woman being escorted out, not even being touched, being walked out of the restaurant, whatever. I don't know the backstory, but her coming down the stairs, walking, not being thrown.
Right.
And being walked out of the restaurant. Nobody even laid a hand on her. Like so people have this ability. So if you're not paying attention to this, number one.
Right.
Because in this case, at least what she said happened didn't happen. I don't know how we got there.
Right.
Maybe there was an issue how we got there. But anybody, that's why you have to be paying attention too.
Correct.
To this. Because people could be out there talking things or coming up. Now that just happened to go viral because of what it was, right? Oh, it's a woman, she's crying and she was wronged and all these other things. Right. But it finds out we find out it wasn't what it was. Right. So just imagine. So they've got to go to Google, they've got to fight with Yelp and all these people because all these reviews, happen.
Right. And nothing happens in a vacuum. And when I say that, what I mean is that you talked about the way a business owner responds to an unfavorable review, maybe not even a negative, just an unfavorable. Well, that's not true. We don't like,
Right. Correct.
So all of that is consistent with the business owner and the business.
Yeah. 100%.
And so, shout out to the restaurant that apparently they've had some training. Right. And apparently they've had some guidance on how to deal with a negative review, especially when it's not true. Right. Because you still need to handle it delicately. Yeah. But you can prove that it's not true. And
software and these things. That's what I talk about. I talk about business modernization. Right. There's software. There's ways to handle these things now. Right. Also in the analysis, you don't have to be a big company that monitors calls for quality assurance. Right. To monitor calls for quality assurance. Right. Right.
That's exactly right.
So listen to the sales calls. Listen to the interactions with customers. It doesn't matter if you're a small business. It doesn't matter if you're running a single point retail shop. If the phone rings, you should have some mechanism to hear what's happening with those customers on the other side of things. Chat logs. If you have a support system ticket, if you offer chat, go back and look at what those exchanges were. Don't just bury your hand in the sand, because there's trends that you may be able to find from there also. So we want to analyze customer support interactions, monitor social media. That's also an important factor of it too. From the book, I want to pull something out here.
Okay.
One of the things he talks about is some key in what he calls key learnings. I love how Steve, great way to help people learn. So he talks about key learning. So a couple points he makes. One, over-promising. He talks about over-promising.
Okay.
He says over-promising is always unnecessary and leads to bad customer experience outcomes. So a part of his point on that is many people are setting themselves up for failure. He says one of the number one causes of a bad customer experience is misaligned expectations. Over-promising intentionally creates misaligned expectations, and over-promising is always unnecessary. What do you think about that?
Gosh almighty. I mean, really,
it's simple but strong.
Really, there's nothing to say to add to that.
William, you know what I'm looking for. Woo. When the church say amen. Yeah, there we go. He knew what now all I need him is to know that I needed him to do it, but he knew what I was looking for when I wanted it. But go ahead. Unpack that.
Yes. Expectations, consistency drives expectations, and expectations drive your experience.
Yeah. Like I can get you at 2:00, but you're going to have to wait here 7 hours.
Right.
That's exactly, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And so to Steve's point, and that's so well written because the way you read it, is create realistic expectations for your clients. Because let me say it again, create realistic expectations for your clients or your customers. Now, here is what your customers expect.
Right.
They expect you to do what you say.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you say what you do and then do what you say, you're believable. Here's what they don't expect. They don't expect you to be perfect.
Right.
So if you make a mistake and they share it, my philosophy as a salesperson is if a customer is willing to share with me, take the time to share with me that they didn't have a great experience.
Right.
They care enough about the business that we're doing together to give us an opportunity to get better at it. And so, again, it goes back to say what you do and do what you say, create realistic expectations, which Steve says in the book, Steve and Connor say in the book, and then deliver on those expectations. And when you don't or when you can't, be clear about that you can't do it and talk about a way to resolve it.
No, I love that. Voice of reason. I knew that was coming to that part. Yeah, your stuff he gets all right. He gets that all the time. All right. No, I love that. So another thing we want to talk about, customer satisfaction surveys. This comes in a couple different ways, right? So there's formal terms, right? We could talk about like CSAT, customer satisfaction scores, NPS, Net Promoter Scores. So, customer effort score, CES. There's a couple different metrics, more on the corporate side, but simply enough, talk to your customers, right? Look at that feedback. What are things you can do better? But again, that goes back to being trained on how to accept that.
Right.
What could be construed as criticism.
Right.
Everybody's got an opinion.
Right.
What you're looking for is patterns. Are you doing things wrong that are helping, or are you doing things right? Are doing things right that you want to do more of?
Correct.
But to know that, you want to get that feedback. And to me, I believe that we want to follow up or focus on pertinent information. Sometimes I'll do a survey,
right,
and they wear me out. I mean, this is simple. And I'll close the browser.
Right.
So the first 10 questions you got, but you're never going to know how I felt about the first 10 questions because I closed the browser out after we got to question 27.
Correct.
So that to me is part of the puzzle. What are the most pertinent or relevant things that are part of your deliverables to a client that you could be correcting or doing more or less of?
Right. Well, and one of the things, going back to the surveys, make it easy for the people to give you some feedback. There is a national chain of drugstores
Yep.
that have multiple units in Richmond. And I've gone to different locations at different parts of the city, and I'll go and I'll have a good experience.
Right.
And I get an email survey because I'm on their client list.
Right.
I'll get an email survey and say, hey, what did you think of your experience? I can answer 2 questions. And then when I go to press enter, up pops the next 10.
Yeah, correct.
And so I can't, I wanted to give somebody a 10 out of 10 stars.
Right.
This young guy working on a Sunday afternoon was as nice as he could be.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give him credit.
Right.
But I couldn't enter my initial comments without completing the rest of the survey.
Right.
So I didn't do it.
Correct.
Because I don't have the time for the other 15 questions.
Right. And somebody has to say, what are the 10 most important things? What are the 5 most important things?
Or say, here's 3 questions. Are you willing to go a little bit further?
Correct.
If not, enter what you have.
Right. Yeah. And again, that's just, I think paying attention. Right.
Correct.
So I think that's part of it. All right, I want to pick up some more stuff and get a couple more things from the book.
Yeah.
So one of the key, another set of key learnings, first impressions matter.
Yes.
As they set the tone for the rest of this customer's interaction with you. You often have just one shot. If you want to make it count, make it easy. And the last here in this key learning, eagerness, more than any other trait, determines whether your customer will feel like you care. Like, folks, you need this book. And it's not what I like about Steve. Steve I do have a thick book from Steve. He has gone deep I have all of his books, and he has gone deep on some of them. But this is one, I think the irony would be to have a book called Ridiculously Simple Customer Experience and have it be 700 pages.
Right.
Right. That would be ironic.
Yeah.
It's 130 pages of nuggets like what we just talked about.
Yeah. Well, the 2 things that
we get no affiliate commissions on. We should.
Well,
we should.
We'll give Steve props because he does, like you said, he does listen and he does offer some support online.
Send a check, Steve.
That's right. But first impressions matter 100%. Yeah. I mean, whether it's your mom or your dad told you that your whole life. Well, you don't have to like it.
Right.
That doesn't change that it's true.
That's right.
That doesn't make it untrue if you don't like it. They matter. So how you show up matters. And then the enthusiasm piece, you can overcome a lot of challenges with enthusiasm for the person that you're engaged with.
Yeah. I mean, I walked into a restaurant and there were 3 hostess at the front, and you see them. I mean, that's the whole theme here, right? So they're attractive hostesses at the front.
Right.
But 2 of them look like they'd rather be anywhere else.
Right.
Like it was a Saturday brunch.
Okay.
So one of them looked like they definitely went out on Friday and wanted to be anywhere other than hostessing at the front.
In front of people they don't know.
Right. But to me, that brings the mood down. That brings my energy down coming into the restaurant, looking to have a good experience, coming with some friends. Right. We'll get the mimosas going. It's brunch time.
Right.
And then, did I meet Debbie Downer.
Right. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Me being me, I need to engage.
Right.
So I'm going to make that person engage.
Now it becomes your responsibility
right?
to elevate
So,
her
look
mood.
at the 3 of you. Oh, how awesome. What's going on today? How are you doing? Hey, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name?
Right.
What's good to eat? What do you recommend? I want to.
Right. Well, now it becomes your job to elevate their mood, and you're the one bringing the experience when they should be making you feel like, hey,
exactly.
We're glad you're here. All you want to do is feel like they're glad you're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because once they seat you, you don't have to talk to them again.
Right. Right.
Like one and done.
But I do remember Debbie Downer.
Right.
I'm talking about it now.
Correct. Right.
So when someone goes, oh, hey, what's a good restaurant we should go to? Well, I mean, I'm not going to completely penalize the restaurant because of the Debbie Downer.
Right.
But it may just not be at the front of my list.
You're probably not going to offer more than 3 choices anyway.
Yeah.
And if that was your most recent experience, it's likely not going to be one of the 3 choices.
I'm saying it was okay. Service was all right.
But you're more likely.
People were all right. I wasn't wowed.
Right. But you're more likely to say, I like these 3
than
don't go there.
Correct.
Because
Correct.
you're
Correct.
like, so here's three.
But if somebody asks me, I'm going to go, it's all right.
Well, right.
Yeah.
That's right. But they're not even in the conversation anymore because the person that created the experience when you walked in didn't create a good enough experience.
And I think, though, if I had an amazing experience, even if the food was marginal,
right,
I still might recommend the people to go there.
Yeah.
Versus going, waitress was a little sloppy getting things done, forgot stuff, didn't bring stuff to the table, had to remind her several times. Because even if the food was fantastic, I don't like the experience.
Right. And that's what, we're talking restaurants here.
Yeah.
We've had these conversations about high-end steakhouses versus, versus the buffet line.
Yep.
And those, you pay for the difference in that, but you also pay for the experience, and the expectation is the experience when you pay more.
Correct. Ruth's Chris does not make the best steak, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I love going to Ruth's Chris
That's a great
for their experience.
100%. They do a great job.
So, and that is one of those, like, if you ask me who made the best steak, I would not say that.
Right.
But if you ask me what's one of my favorite steakhouses to go to, it's good. So it isn't just right. Now it's the sides, it's the people. It's in the computer who I want my waitress to be. Right. So it's in there. So whenever we make a reservation, they know that we want to be with this certain, because now it's predictable. Now other people are great. Right. And on the occasion she's off or not there, we've had other people, but so I can count on the person at the front. I know what that's going to, I know that whole experience. Right. So it doesn't have to be the best steak. Now, it's not going to be crappy. No. Because it's still paying a premium. But it doesn't have to be. And those are different questions. Right. Cory, what's your favorite restaurant? Right. Cory, what's your favorite steakhouse? Right. Cory, who makes the best steak? Correct. Those are actually probably three completely different answers. Right. And the question I would ask you is, and this is to Steve's point and to your point, is if you're going out to dinner for a steak, where would you go? Not who has the best steak, right? Where would you go? So Ruth's Chris would probably be at the top of that list. Yeah, except for the drive. Well, it's inconvenient for me. Well, and but yes, that's going to be what I would say a go-to. Right. Well, right. I mean, I know what I'm getting. I know, you know my opinion on local fare out of town experiments. Right. Well, and for me, I mean, unfortunately, the Morton's that was downtown is no longer downtown. It's a casualty of COVID. That was a good experience. Great. Knew experience. The GM, 100%. The whole thing, see the thing. Yes. And I started going there when I lived a mile from there, when I lived downtown. And then when I moved out into the suburbs, it was a 20-minute drive. And I would still make a point to go down there, if not once a month, once a quarter for sure. It became special
because
occasion.
Because of the experience.
Yeah, 100%.
And, I mean, it was a great place. Right. But the experience elevated it to a whole nother level.
Better stop talking about all these high-end where people are going to write in, oh, you guys in your fancy steakhouses.
Well, we are wearing sport coats today, so we dressed up for the call.
Yeah, we dressed fancy. No, I'm certainly never going to apologize for where I like to eat and how we like 100%. To be. But, okay. So I did one more. I mean, there's a lot of great nuggets in here, but I wanted to pick a couple out and plus combine them. So the last one I want to pull out, and I highly recommend Ridiculously Simple Customer Experience. My good friend Steve Stoney and his son Connor wrote this book on Amazon, wherever books are sold. Willie H, wherever books are sold. That's an inside joke that we have. Angry customers are inevitable. Therefore, if the front line can't or aren't allowed to solve issues, you must have an escalation process in place. That's one. Two, if you buy into the FMF, I'm figuring he talks about this. It stands for Feed My Family Philosophy. Okay. I don't know Steve, sorry, I didn't get that deep in there. I should have called him before we did the show. Research. But if you buy into the Feed My Family philosophy, it's important to remember customers aren't always right, though they are always the customer. And then the last point is your job is not to point out where customers are wrong. Instead, learn to let them vent and then kill them with kindness. Right.
Well, those are all, I mean, that's
I think there's a button there. Woo! When the church say amen.
There you go. Exactly. So the last one is, and it speaks to when you were talking about the review earlier.
Yep.
The last one is such a big point. Instead of justifying it, solve the problem first.
Yep.
When the customer's got a problem, solve the problem first. Don't defend it. Don't make them feel bad about it. Solve the problem first. And if you can't solve the problem, then that's okay. Figure out, then you have an out clause, whatever that is. If it's a restaurant, you say, I'll just pick up your food, whatever.
Yep.
But if you can't solve the problem first, instead of making the customer feel like they have to defend the problem or
100%.
defend their perspective on the problem.
Yeah. And I think the point is it's not hard if you pay attention.
Right.
And listen, there are industries that I feel I wouldn't want to be in.
Correct.
Because of the customers or how customers can be.
Right.
There's different price points that also dictate. And the funny thing is, you're not necessarily safe anyway.
No.
Right? You go, ultra high end, you're gonna have your share of what's there too.
Correct.
Although generally people are very kind.
Right.
Lower end scenarios. Now, I don't know this for a fact. But I'm going to say that there are probably more fistfights in Walmart than Neiman Marcus. I don't know. I don't know for sure. So I don't want to generalize too much. At least the internet tells me if I Google fights in Neiman Marcus
Right.
and fights in Walmart, there are channels dedicated to that.
Right.
So I think, and the other reason I think about this is I think recently my wife was telling me, and even I experienced, my wife was talking to somebody about an issue.
Right.
Yeah, now it's coming back to me. She was dealing with an issue with a hotel where, we had prepaid the company, we had prepaid, so we wanted to pay. So she was traveling and didn't have to worry about incidentals and credit cards.
Right.
Yeah, so we put the credit card on file. But we hadn't had confirmation, so I wanted to make sure everything. So she was calling to get confirmation. And she was, the woman said, okay, wait, I need to do this. And he talked to the manager. And my wife said, okay, great, no problem. And she literally said, I want to just thank you for being so nice about this.
Right.
That's that she said to my wife. I can only imagine if someone has to call that out.
Right.
They must have been dealing with some nasty people that day or in general.
There was a recent experience that caused them to appreciate that it wasn't as bad as the last one.
Yes. That, for them to call that out and just say, I really appreciate you being patient or being kind about this or whatever.
Right.
Because that just tells me other people have it. Right. So I have a great deal of empathy we're all in the service business. We serve our clients, but it's not the same way. We want things to go, my team knows we want things to go right when we're working with clients.
Right.
But it's just not the same volume that a restaurant is or a retail clothing store or whatever. So
or a hotel, right.
Yeah. So there's just, there's that piece to it. But there's so much value. Lon, what do you think? You think we should give one of these away?
I think we should.
So I think we need to do. So here's what you need to do. I need you to, what do we want them to do? Email us maybe, or go to social media.
Say do a comment on LinkedIn for this episode and say that you want.
Yeah, if you're on LinkedIn, I like that. So watch this episode. Go on our LinkedIn social media. Anywhere you see the clips. If you follow me, official Cory Mosley. If you follow Lon, what are your handles? Where are you?
It's Lon Graham on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you took it easy. Unfortunately, Cory Mosley is what I assess to be a blonde white woman in her mid-30s, early 30s, who by marriage is named Cory Mosley. So I'm official Cory Mosley. But anywhere you see this, if you're seeing a promo, if you're watching this, if you're listening to the whole episode, you're streaming it, go on our social media, look for the Grow Business Podcast, and I'm going to do two things. I'll make it easy. You can do that and make a comment that you want a book, send me a copy, or you can send an email to hello@CoryMosley.com.
There you go.
I've got a few books here that we have because Steve's been here to our studio, and we're going to give one away.
Good.
Okay, you can't have mine because I've got highlights and stuff in it, and it's bent. And I think Steve said how wonderful I am in here. He wrote me a nice note.
Right?
Yeah. So
we'll get you one though. And
it's not one of those things open it and says thank you to my good friend Corey.
Right. Exactly.
Right. I tried to give my uncle some of my shirts. And he rejected them because some of them had Corey written on them.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's like, I'm not walking around with your name. All right. You don't want a beautiful custom shirt,
right?
David Donahue. Right. You don't want a Canali dress shirt because you don't want a Peter Millar shirt because it says Corey on it. Right. Nobody even pays attention to that.
No.
Say that's my nephew. That's all you gotta do.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
What's my nickname?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I go by Corey.
Right. Exactly.
What are your thoughts on this last one here? Follow-up interviews.
Okay.
So follow-up interviews. Also, what are your thoughts on focus groups? And that's bigger.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Focus groups, there's a place for them, but that's a very, very specific place. I do think, whether it's formal or informal, the follow-up interview, here is the key piece to getting some follow-up interviews or getting a follow-up interview. And we haven't addressed this yet, so this is the perfect place to address it. Make sure the people that you're asking for their opinion are your ideal client.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that yet in this episode, and we talk about it in almost every episode. Know who your ideal client is and know who your target audience is. So if you're going to act on feedback,
right,
make sure it's the people that you want to be doing business with. Right. Because you may get somebody who's a third party that came in and bought something from you once and didn't have a great experience and they're frustrated. It's okay, you can address it, but don't overhaul your business for a third party when your core customers and your core audience like what you're doing. So if you're going to change something, make sure it's coming from the people that you want to be doing business with you moving forward.
I like it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Voice of reason. There he is. All right. I think there's enough meat on the bone here.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve, for contributing.
Yeah, Stephen Connor, thank you for providing us some great insights that we could share today.
Yeah.
Like I said, highly recommend you guys go out and get this book, Ridiculously Simple Customer Experience, How to Quickly Build and Maintain a CX Juggernaut. This show is not sponsored. This was Lon didn't even know I was going to be taking excerpts from this book, but there's just a lot of great information. It's a quick read, so as a busy entrepreneur or an ADHD diagnosed or undiagnosed entrepreneur, this is a great opportunity to knock it out, have some actionable insights and nuggets. So really enjoy what they're doing, and I think we're going to leave it there. Yeah. As always, we want to thank you for joining us for another episode. If you've got business owners or people that this can impact that you need to share with, we appreciate you sharing it. We appreciate the likes and the feedback, the comments. We want to keep driving this up, and we want to keep showing up every week to share this valuable content. So thank you, no matter where you stream us, YouTube, iHeart, all the places we are, Apple Podcasts, whatever your pleasure is, we're there. And if there's a place that is a favorite that you can't find the podcast, post and let us know about that too. A place that we need to stream this to that maybe we're not streaming it to. We want to know that as well. Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks for coming, and thanks for coming back. Yeah, I like when that's his stand-up training. Like, thanks for coming out, y'all. Good night. Gotta go home now. But we appreciate you so much. And it's been another episode of the Grow Business Podcast. I'm Cory Mosley, and who are you? Lon Graham. He's Lon Graham. LG007 on behalf of myself, Lon, and Willie H. We appreciate your viewership, and we will see you, viewership and listenership. And we'll see you next week. Willie H., take us out. Go out like you came in. That's right. I like the teaching. That was new. Yeah. Willie H. had that. For the girl. Yeah. And just turn up a little. Yeah. Well, create the host. Yeah. Louder. Right. Well, we're also in a new space. Right. Yeah. Well, you're listening from over there. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's the key. That's good. Ridiculously simple. Yeah, what a great call, right? Yeah. That really was. It was. Yeah, all his books are great. They give you thinking and they're simple. Like it's not complicated because that's what we do. We like to overcomplicate the process when it's obvious.